All right.
And okay, so we'll get started. So hi, everybody. I'm Andrew, and I'm with my co-presenters, Candace and Leith, and you'll hear a little bit more about them later on today. I have to say, if we were in a room together, I'd say give yourself a round of applause because we've made it through yet another tumultuous year in the industry, lots of highs, some lows, and just when you thought it was safe to get back into the water, you have a whole new set of exciting challenges to overcome, but being creative is the way to overcome that. Just a few housekeeping notes here. One, we're going to go really fast because we've got a lot to cover and we may not get to everything. You're going to see examples of trends on each page. We're not going to cover each of those. The good news is immediately following this presentation, you'll receive an email that'll give you the ability to download the report. So you'll have the full report at your fingertips. There's also a Q&A function in the meeting. If you click on that and put a question in, we're going to do our best to leave some time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions you may have. I did want to say that before I go into this, I want to give a big shout out to Lee Steele, who is our senior strategist, who's really along with the whole team at Carbonate, who's really put this report together. You're going to be, I hope you're going to be very impressed, but it was a labor of love, and I just want to say thank you in advance. So on that note, we're going to jump right in. I think I'll get to the 15th year in a few minutes because I think we all can't believe that we've really done this report for 15 years. It's the best one ever. So on that note, let's get this party started.
All right, I'm going to kick things off, just tell you a little bit about us. So we today on the call representing af&co and Carbonate. af&co is in its 17th year of business and is an award-winning hospitality, marketing, and public relations agency based in San Francisco. Carbonate is a boutique creative strategy and brand communications agency. Together, our two teams are able to offer a full suite of marketing services specifically for the hospitality industry, from concept development to naming to market positioning to visual identity and design, all the way through all of the marketing communications from public relations, social media, paid social, influencer. Did I forget anything? But if not, we probably do it. We have an amazing team, and you can check the depth of expertise on our two combined teams on our website and get to know some of our amazing team members. Speaking of amazing teams and organizations, we are going to be using this year's trend report to raise money for the James Beard Women's Leadership Programs. The James Beard Foundation's Women's Leadership Programs. We do this presentation in a number of different places, and any speaking engagements and things from that, our two companies will not only be asking for donations to this wonderful organization, but we will also be matching donations as well. So there's a link on our website, so please feel free to donate, and we will meet you there and match your donations. And as Andrew mentioned, we have an incredible team. These are the team members who've worked on this report. Leith, as you're going to hear from her in a little bit, is our head of insights at Carbonate and wonderful senior strategist, Andrew and I, of course. And then you can see we have our incredible design team who were responsible for the artwork in this report, as well as our design trends. And then our other strategist, Cole Roberts, who's our director of social media services, and Rachel and Emily as well. So we hope that you'll get to know our team, and we'll keep going. This is the 15th year we've done this, and so we've got 15 years of excitement. So Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Let's talk about that. And I just want to shout out to Rose Giuliano, who's helping us manage this big presentation today. Okay, everybody, can you believe 15 years? Just to put it in perspective, af&co is 17 years old, af&co, and Carbonate's going to be going into its 4th year, 3 of which have been in the pandemic. What about that? But, as we look back on the 15 years of this report, which, interestingly enough, Leith and I have been on the journey pretty much from the beginning of this report, just to put it into perspective, but we were laughing to ourselves the other day that the report came out a year after the iPhone came out. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But if you really think about, what the last, I'm going to say 3 years have been like, plus the fact that, when we started this report, technology was just really starting. We were still faxing, we were still doing some things that we don't do anymore. and that some of the new methods of marketing and well, actually operating just weren't there. So there's no doubt that that technology is really now just core to how we do business, and you have to embrace it. I think a lot of this report will be about embracing things, and we'll keep it very G-rated, but there'll be you'll be embracing some. Well, hopefully you'll embrace each other too as you go through this report. But now we're looking at the where we are now. And where we are now is just like I said earlier, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, there's a whole new set of challenges. Labor challenges continue. There's inflation, supply chain disruptions. All of this, is definitely, our industry is getting hit on both on the hotel and the restaurant side harder than I think any other industries have gotten hit. So what happens? You get creative and you get crafty and you figure things out. And so during the pandemic, we figured out online ordering and outdoor dining and all these, the creative operators and the shrewd operators stayed open. And so what happened now? So what did that do to all us? We also had the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matters and, just some political unrest. And so all this came together to create, a very interesting time in the history of hospitality. Now, as we look forward, what we know is the guests have changed too. They're a little more fragile. They've been cooped up in many places longer than others. They've become more discerning. They're willing to spend the money if you really can show them the value proposition of why should I spend this kind of money. So they also are looking for more than just dining or just a stay. They're looking to be entertained and they're looking to be wowed. And if you do a really good job with that, then they go to social media and they tell your story for you. So they become your outsourced marketing team in many cases as well. So, we have a lot of challenges. The report, we talk a little bit about the challenges, but we're really focused on the future. We're focused on the next 15 years. And, you're all industry leaders. You should all give yourselves a round of applause, but just keep in mind, concept clarity, resilience, creativity, and the courage to break out of the box and do new exciting things will really help you to continue to thrive, not only survive, but thrive into the future. So 15 years, giving myself a pat on the back. I'm giving this team a pat on the back because I can't believe it's been that long, but we're very excited to present the report to you today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Candace and Leith to just give you a little quick look back before we go forward.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important, to understand, where this new chapter, as we're calling it, starts, is to really take a look back and understand some of the major shifts that have happened in, what is really quite a short amount of time. So, we have this fun little quick look back, but, when you think about the iPhone, many of the things that we're talking about today wouldn't have either the technology or the way we approach things really changed with the iPhone. When you think about that customer journey and how they find you, and Instagram, and how we're now designing hotels and restaurants to think about how it's going to look on a quick social media photo. A lot of that would have been unimaginable in 2006 or even 2007. Airbnb came out in 2008, forever changing, the way that we travel. There was a food truck revolution, which lowered the barrier to entry and really became a place where we started to see a lot of creativity and momentum. The Instagram, that was the Instagram. Instagram came out in 2010, and that really changed the way that we look at food photos and bright colors and all of those sorts of things. It's hard to believe that ticketed reservations really just launched in 2010. We saw Linea moving to that in 2010, and I think we're seeing a little bit more of that now as people are looking at that as a way to control costs or do special events. DoorDash launched in 2013, and now we can see the impact that has had given the acceleration of delivery during the pandemic. Mobile check-ins, Marriott first launched that in 2013. Facebook and Open Table partnering in 2013, making it so that social media became a place that you could take immediate action on a purchase or a reservation. Influencer marketing, I think we're going to talk quite a bit about that later on today, but that started in 2013, really. Starbucks launching mobile order and payment was 2015, which changed the way that we think about how we make those purchases. TikTok, believe it or not, we're really talking about a lot today, but that was 2016 and really started us all thinking about short form video content. Impossible Burger launching in restaurants, 2016. Me Too became a movement and really has led us to evaluate our industry in 2017. And then, of course, we can't, we have this bookend of COVID-19. So from the iPhone to COVID-19, all of the things that we've been through and that were started through these things, we thought was a pretty fun look. But I'll turn it over to Leith to talk a little bit about some of the food trends of the year.
Yeah, we'll start with last year. Last year we named Laksa the dish of the year in 2022. And we were very excited and proud to see that this year Data Essential came out with some data saying that this traditional Southeast Asian soup is up 180% on menus. Last year, we also called 80s cocktails the drink trend of the year and have seen Long Island iced tea and plenty of other cocktails coming back on the scene. Last year, we also called such things as robots in hotel rooms and really catering to pampered pets. So those are just a few of the hits from last year. And then looking back over the last 15 years, in 2021, we called quesadilla the dish of the year and have seen that proliferating everywhere. In 2020, which keep in mind, we announced this in 2019, we predicted the rise of non-alcoholic cocktails, which took a little bit of a dive around March and April of 2020, but we are seeing it coming back now and stronger than it was before and continuing to see that build. In 2019, we called Khachapuri the dish of the year, and Georgian food was the food of the year. We're continuing to see Georgian food and Georgian wine trend upwards. In 2018, we saw members-only restaurants and lounges and bars. In 2017, canned wine, and again, something that is continuing to grow a whole lot. 2016, we saw micro hotel rooms start to gain a lot of interest. In 2015, chef-driven tacos, and that's something that they've been proliferating on menus for years and all sorts of different variations, also different types of cuisines, adapting themselves to this flexible format. 2014, we started seeing tea as a very popular ingredient in cocktails and something that we're still seeing today. In 2013, we saw the beginning of canned cocktails, which we have seen just explode in the last 2 years. And then in 2012, we saw the first cocktails on tap, which is something that we're still seeing now and coming back a little bit. In 2011, shrubs were a favorite ingredient in cocktails and still around today. You can even now buy your own bottled versions to make non-alcoholic sodas or cocktails at home. In 2010, we saw tablets and touch screens first enter into the hospitality realm in a big way. 2009, Neighborhood Special was big news with Meatball Mondays, Small Bite Tuesdays, Wine Wednesdays, looking at ways to bring your neighbors in on a regular basis on theme evenings, typically run on a slow night. And 2008 was the year of the staycation, with everybody really marketing to the locals and developing the terminology to do so.
This one cracks me up because, sometimes we like to say everything old is new again. And then, not that long ago, we were having our own staycation. So see, everything comes back around.
Yeah. And then the road tripping and the, work from home and all that sort of came back, as a necessity for living in the last year.
Yeah. So now what's to come? Andrew, take it on.
Okay, so
drum roll
jump in, leave it on this for a minute because I've got to build the excitement here. But I want to say that Leith, Leith is really responsible for the quesadilla revolution that took over the country because she called it first, and then within weeks we saw everybody writing about it. So even though it may probably not totally true, we're I'm giving Leith credit for the popularity of quesadilla across the world.
Andrew never exaggerates.
Yeah, I never exaggerate. And by the way, because sound is one of our trends, periodically throughout the report, I may be throwing a serenade in or two. So as we jump into this, there would be a drum roll here, but since there's not, I'll just do let's get it started. Okay. And that's my first song. So keep in mind of the soundtrack that you're going to hear as part of the trend presentation. you're going to see some central themes that are going to run through the report. I think, we'll save those for the end because it'll be fun for you to call out what's central. I will say this, if I had to really look at just two major things, it would be nostalgia. That's still really hot, in the industry, and then global flavors, anything that brings, you're going to see a lot of global influences in it. So I also want to mention, with every trend, some of these are a little out there, some of these are already in progress, and we're just seeing that they're going to continue to get stronger. A great version of that would be the non-alcoholic cocktails that we called, and now it's just cultural. So next year when we do this report, we'll see how we did with these. But, again, and I want to also say that not everyone will apply to everyone. These are really thought starters for you to take back to your restaurants, your hotels, your teams, and see, is there something here that we could do? So you're at a great time because you still have time to influence 2023. Okay, drum roll, please. Let's get it started. The dish of the year, maitake mushrooms. Why is this such a popular dish? Well, let's face it, plant-based and vegetarian vegan lifestyles are now not just for vegans and vegetarians. These are new great opportunities for chefs and restaurants to really get creative with what we'd say is non-meat alternatives, but we don't even see it that way anymore. We just see this delicious mushroom because of its craggly surface, the fact that it can be roasted, fried, grilled. It can be done as a sandwich at Bird Box. There you can see really a couple great examples here of how it's being used, but it's got this great opportunity for you to infuse a lot of flavors through sauces and dressings and the way you cook it. And while it doesn't taste exactly like meat, which is really not what we're worrying about so much anymore, it just tastes delicious. And that's why maitake is our dish of the year. Dessert of the year, baked Alaska is back, believe it or not. That plays into the nostalgia theme really big time. I actually had the very dish in the middle there last night in honor of the eve of the trend report. But why is this? I think, one thing that is interesting about a report like this is that everything old really truly is new again. So audiences that may remember baked Alaska, like me, like the older people, might see this as nostalgia. The younger people are just seeing this as something like delicious and really great. But you can see modern interpretations. So when you do anything nostalgic in the report that you're going to see a modern interpretation of it. It's a delicious dish. It's eye-catching, great for Instagram, and chefs are doing it in really unique ways. Very delicious. The drink of the year is the new seafood cocktail. We're going to coastal or oceanic cocktails, as it was referred today in Nation's Restaurant News. And this is, again, something new where the flavors of the sea are making it into cocktails, whether it be like that wonderful drink at Blue Stem, which is a cioppino cocktail that's made, infused with clam juice and a couple other really great things like salted tomato water. And then you can see the garnishes on some of these other presentations are just really bringing the sea to the cocktail. And I think it's sort of like, if you love oysters, then you can literally drink a cocktail now that reminds you of the sea. So very interesting trend for everybody to jump onto for your bar menus. Cuisine of the year, Filipino. We called this a while back when it was really just coming onto the scene, but this year, just looking at the data that Leith pulled, you can see how the population has really changed around the infusion of Filipino Americans into our lives. And now, again, the food has really been taken, the different levels of Filipino, whether it be street or very upscale like Abaca. By the way, I found out they're going to be featured on Kelly and Ryan tomorrow morning because it's San Francisco Day. And that was the restaurant that was chosen to represent San Francisco. So you can really see here that they're getting very popular on YouTube. James Beard, and like I said, there's multi levels of this because they're fast food chains or fast restaurant groups that are launching across the country. So they're becoming dining destinations with national acclaim. I just mentioned Abaca, but you can see some other examples here. And we're very excited that the infusion of Asian flavors continues very strong. Food City of the Year. We're going to Austin, Texas this year, everybody, because I'm putting on a little Southern accent for you. But Austin is just one of the most vibrant cities right now. You could, again, we have some stats here, but it's also just known for its music and its life and livelihood. And there's a lot of major companies are moving there. And when that happens, great restaurants and chefs, have opportunities to follow or to do something they haven't done before. So you're seeing, a lot more James Beard attention being paid down there. There's chefs coming from there. There's other like the Dead Rabbit is going there from New York. So it's just a really exciting city. And if you live there, if you haven't been there, go, because you can eat really great and listen to some good music. So we love Austin, Texas. Okay, those are the trends of the year. I'm going to turn it over to Leith to start on the food trends.
Okay, so we're saying that ube is ubiquitous, and this is kind of an offshoot of Filipino foods. But many people might be familiar with ube thanks in part to Filipino foods or popular desserts like shave ice or from bubble tea. Ube is now really becoming into the mainstream, and thanks to a few different factors. The pleasant sweet flavor is offers easy appeal, but there's also a lot of Instagram attraction thanks to its bright purple color. So now we're seeing ube appear in everything from cocktails and drinks to both sweet and savory foods. And it's important to keep in mind that just because the origins are from Southeast Asia, that doesn't mean it can't be applicable to whatever food you're serving. I've seen it recently as the puree along a tuna steak. So something that was that once seemed foreign is now very approachable. And let fermentation ferment. This is something that we've been seeing really gain an appeal for a number of years. If we wanted to, we could probably track it back at least to the popularity of Noma's New Nordic Cuisine. They were probably the first to really push this forward and apply it to fine dining. And it has since really taken hold with chefs really appreciating how fermentation can change, alter, and create these really incredible flavors. So a lot of this process comes down to what we call koji, which is the process similar to making miso of fermenting grains and starches. And this is something that chefs are really now embracing. And once again, it does not have to apply to traditional Japanese or fermented foods. And in any case here, Charter Oak has a very modern and fresh feeling dish, which is fresh crudité from their own farm and paired with a fermented soy dip, which when you think of the ingredients can seem like soy and fermentation would seem classically like miso, but this presentation and the feel and the flavor is completely unique. In other examples here in the Bay Area, there's at least 2 specialty producers of just fermented foods. Aiden Koji Kitchen ferments all type of different products. They also have a restaurant where they serve bento boxes that feature a number of their different number of their different products and presentations. And then Day Trip is an exciting wine bar, which is getting national acclaim right now. And they actually describe themselves as a fermentation-driven restaurant, which is really something interesting to consider. And Nigerian food pops up. This is something that's really exciting. Nigerian and West African food, of which Nigerian cuisine plays a role, has been I'd say overlooked and underrepresented in the past. And now we're seeing a number of chefs really giving it the attention and the dedication called for. A lot of these new projects began as pop-ups that have since become more permanent. And the chefs are using it as an opportunity to educate people, to engage people in discussion in a way that is fun and exciting. So we have examples like Ile in Los Angeles, which is a pop-up with tasting menus that range from 4 to 9 courses. Department of Culture has gotten a lot of national acclaim. Again, that was a pop-up. but it was recently called one of the top 50 best new restaurants in the country by Bon Appetit. And we're also seeing chefs embracing it. Celebrity chef Kwame Onuachi has a few Nigerian dishes on his new restaurant Tatiana, which just opened last week. And we're seeing some creativity, like a chef in Sacramento who is fusing Nigerian flavors, but serving them in tacos in a way, in efforts to help make the food more approachable to the masses.
This is Andrew's favorite. He likes saying this one.
I love this. This is Nikkei is on a roll. Very exciting. This has been around for a little while, but we're really seeing the popularity of this. And this is basically Peruvian Japanese or Japanese Peruvian, depending on how you look at it. But we've, Nobu can be credited with maybe starting this movement, but now the flavors of these two cultures and foods coming together are just really delicious. They're bright, they're fresh. We represent Cayo here in the Bay Area, and they now have a rooftop, and now they're getting ready to go to Las Vegas. And I think, again, I say some of these because dishes like this can show up on your menu. They could show up on your, happy hour. Just really interesting infusions of flavors. The old term was mashup, which takes us to the next slide, which is I'm turning Japanese. Okay, that second song on the soundtrack of this trend report. Okay, so this is very exciting in the fact that we're seeing Japanese culture get infused and flavors get infused into other cultures and other food types. So this is a trend that Leith really pointed out, and we thought it was very exciting. But you can see, again, why is this? Because there's American, children of people that have immigrated here are now American Japanese, and they're taking what they've learned or what they know, and they're infusing it with their maybe foods that they want to do or their other culture, if maybe they're based on marriage or anything like that. So you can see here great examples of I think the one in the middle, O, is really exciting because it's an infusion of Japanese Italian, which I would actually fly there to try that restaurant. And you can see other great examples of like Ethel's Fancy, which just opened here, which is modern Japanese Californian cuisine, modern California cuisine from a Japanese American kid from Hawaii. So you could, just think about all the different flavor profiles that you're getting in these really interesting cultural combinations. Two-digit tasting menus. This goes back to my comment about value and perception of value. People, again, are willing to spend the good money, but they're also, they're now with, their first things might be getting a little tighter, but this has so many great reasons why you should consider doing something like this, even if it's one day a week or a section. You can control what you're buying and what you're purchasing. So there's it could possibly take a little less labor, and a little tighter ordering for your menus. You can keep them affordable and also look at doing add-ons and options, but it really does allow the chef to express their creativity. We have some great examples here, that of like under 70, under 50, and some people say, well, how do I make money on that? And I think if you can control the cost and the labor, it's like Mama in Oakland here does it for $36.95. And I think you can really see that this is a great opportunity for maybe a night a week, or just, a concept based on these two-digit tasting menus. And finally, this is back to Candace, or is this back to Leith?
I'll take this one.
Back to Leith.
Yeah, so Beyond Meat is kind of the natural extension of where we have gone in plant-based alternatives to meat products. For a number of years, we were hearing about Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat. It was about these, meats that seemed or alternative meats that seemed very real. But now people are starting to ask for healthier and more natural alternatives that weren't produced in a science lab, looking for things that are healthier and championing kind of some of the reasoning beyond plant-based, not just the fact that it is non-animal. So a lot of these products are coming from mushroom roots or from seaweeds. We have two examples here from My Forest Foods, which is made from mushroom roots, or Umaro Foods, which makes plant-based bacon and some other products from red seaweed. And then we have Vegan Gets Convenient. Similarly, vegan food started as a movement, offshoot of vegetarian, and then it used to be relegated to health food stores, and then to purpose-driven restaurants and cafes, and then we saw it approach fine dining and then fast food. And as this movement continues to gain traction and more people are interested, it's only natural to see vegan really filter down through all the levels. And now it's entering into the convenience-oriented market, which is something really interesting when you think of something like a butcher shop or a deli, which you would never think of as being plant-based. Now there are specific alternatives for them. So we have seen a new place in LA called Maciel's Plant-Based Butcher and Deli that combines Mexican and deli influences. They make all of their alternative meats in-house. DC Vegan is an Italian-American deli and catering company where everything is plant-based. Or even most surprising of all is Hangry Planet, which is a vegan convenience store actually located at a car wash. And that's here in San Bruno, California. But everything that they serve, whether it's frozen food, baked goods, snacks, etc., is all plant-based. And Zatar flatbreads are on the rise. This is a fun one. These go by so many different names based on where exactly they're from, but throughout the Middle East, it could be manouche, manakish, manish. But they're all a typical Middle Eastern flatbread. It's flaky, often cooked on a griddle, and it's topped traditionally with some olive oil and aromatic za'atar seasoning. Now, many of these they started in farmers markets, though they're taking a farm fresh approach. They might toss it with local ingredients from. They might add some meat options to add on, but it's something that offers near universal appeal. This easy to eat flatbread with different flavors, really delicious and exciting to see them take hold, and both in restaurants and in grocery stores. And this one, the Daily Grind, it's hard to talk about a trend when really this dates back centuries, because the Mexicans and the Aztec before them have been, grinding and nixtamalizing corn. But now we're seeing chefs, return to these ancient traditions, foregoing the convenient alternatives, because by finding the, non-GMO corn from small family farmers and then processing it in-house, they're able to find superior flavors. So it's really nice to see that after this era of convenience, people are returning to the old ways and using that as the basis of their cuisine. So we have examples from Los Felix in Miami, which grinds corn daily. Next to Taqueria is this amazing place in Austin. The chef just got his James Beard Award as the Emerging Chef of the Year. And he's made sourcing heirloom maize and nixtamalizing it in-house kind of the cornerstone of his cuisine, and turning these into incredibly creative and delicious tacos. Or the new La Diabla Pozole y Mezcal in Denver, where that really features corn in all of its forms on the menu. And it only takes one look at these to say Cuisinart. There's really beautiful presentations of these traditional Southeast Asian, also seen in China. I'm going to call them desserts. They can occasionally be savory, but more often than not, they're dessert, mostly made from rice flour or glutinous rice. They have these, often these beautiful multi-layered presentations, incredibly laborious to make. Typical flavorings include coconut, pandan, and palm sugar. And again, using rice or rice flour, glutinous rice to bind them together. But as we see more and more foods from Southeast Asia being incorporated into our own cuisine and more specialty shops, we do expect to see these taking hold.
And on to 3 cheers for creative presentations. Again, I think this goes back to challenging yourselves creatively to not only do what is expected, but to do something new that would also encourage a higher check average. So coming up with really interesting creative plating, creative tiers, not just for tea service, but look at, like, if you look at the examples that we've shown, you see an appetizer selection on a tiered platter. And what I like about this is that people really want to come together again to socialize and to be part of the just being together. So when you do a presentation like this, it gets an ooh and an ah. These would become the must order dishes when they go through the room. So challenging yourselves to get really creative with presentation and placement. And here you've got, and then the final one, which I thought was really interesting on the food trends. No, it's totally okay. We're tight on time, so keep me moving. It basically, it takes the whole kitchen. This is really I think a lovely example of another thing that maybe came out of the last couple of years, where people that are doing the work are getting the credit, you know, and so you're seeing certain restaurants give the various kitchen members of the team that may have had their created the dish or helped create the dish, or it's an inspiration from their upbringing or something that personalizes the experience of bringing the staff to the forefront, you know, bringing them onto the plate. So at High Felicia here, every member of the staff is introduced and each cook has a chance to talk about the dishes they prepared. Maybe not for a huge high volume, but you could do this in really fun ways on the menu. And you can see at Californios here, there's 30 names on the menu, including the whole restaurant staff. So it's not just the chef or the general manager anymore, it's the entire team that it takes to produce the experience. Okay.
All right, I get to do the drinks.
Yes,
I don't know.
I'm going to have a drink. Okay.
You have a drink and I'll talk about them.
Okay.
So, you know, this one, cocktails for a crowd, you know, drinking alone. So 2020. Now we're all coming together again, hopefully at our favorite local bars and restaurants. But, you know, there's definitely, as Andrew mentioned, Ben, this return to conviviality, if you will. And so we're seeing some really fun large format cocktails. You know, Bar West in Sacramento has 6 different fish bowls that are here. Hazy's in San Francisco has this beautiful presentation that you can see, this disco ball from Tipsy Alchemist. Again, not new, not a new concept, but just really having some fun with it and giving people something celebratory. Cocktails for the kid in you. This is not for your children. This is just for the youthful among us, or youthful at heart. You know, Andrew mentioned at the beginning that nostalgia is really playing a part in a lot of these things, and I think this is a really good example of it. So we're seeing childhood sweets getting the grown-up treatment. You know, Summer House in Chicago, that's a cinnamon toast brunch that has an oat milk cream liqueur and rum and cinnamon. Cafe Noce in Austin, that is a pour over of a popsicle that gets, they have either beer or wine poured over top. And then the right one is really fun. This is actually a Jell-O shot. And it's, you know, this is part of the menu at Milady's in New York. So it's a Jiggler's house-made Jell-O shot. And you can see they're actually serving it on an oyster. So you can have some fun with these. All right, vegan fat washed cocktails. So as many remember, it's still popular seeing either butter or bacon washed bourbon, you know, where you're infusing the flavors into the spirit. Now we're seeing the vegan version of that with you know, using either olive oil or coconut or even peanut butter. So, you know, we can see here Poppycocks in Traverse City, Michigan has a summertime shrub with coconut oil washed rum. Dive Bar in New York, that's an olive oil martini made with olive oil washed gin. The one on the end is a peanut butter washed whiskey from Wax Myrtles in Austin, Texas. So some really creative things that you can do with this. And again, you're still fulfilling, you know, the that vegan section of your menu too. Speaking of unexpected flavors and drinks, we have a toast to avocado cocktails. So, you know, we see this across Southeast Asia, avocado being popular in either sweet smoothies or desserts. It's really not been something that's been super prevalent with, you know, a few notable exceptions. It's not been something super prevalent in the US, but we're now seeing it used in drinks. So It's got kind of a creamy mouthfeel, so it adds body, and then the fat cuts through any through heat from the alcohol. So you can see some great examples here. Pine and Polk in New York has it's called -3. It's got mezcal, avocado, lemongrass, salted corn, jalapeno. You can see that beautiful garnish there as well. So another flavor to play with in drink profiles. Leith.
And the power of pandan. So again, we're pulling from Southeast Asian cuisines here. Pandan is best known for its aromas. It's popular in desserts. Now it's being embraced by bartenders because of those kind of sweet vanilla coconut-like aromas that it brings to its drinks. So we have a great example from Tete a Tete in Los Angeles. And this is another large format cocktail as well. It's either served in bowls for 2 or for 4, but very creative with mezcal, lemongrass, watermelon, coconut cream, and it's garnished with pandan pearls. Or we have Little Rituals in Phoenix, Arizona, which starts with a base of cognac, adds rum, and then this pandan blanc vermouth and green chartreuse, coconut, lime, 5-spice, and then it's topped with that rock candy garnish. So a lot of these flavors tend to be a little bit more tropical because the aromas of pandan go very well. We're also seeing a lot of non-alcoholic spirits. This really started as the non-alcoholic cocktails have taken off. More and more producers are making the base ingredients for those non-alcoholic cocktails. So there's been tremendous growth in this category. It's very exciting to see everything from, the, Italian, red, aperitifs like Lyre's Italian Orange, or something more spirit driven, but still without any actual spirits, like Spiritless Kentucky 7 is a non-alcoholic bourbon whiskey. So we're seeing everything from, whiskey and rum to even tequilas.
Hey, Leith, really quick, I just want to jump in to say that people should ban the word mocktail from their menus at this point and get creative with these presentations. I saw free spirited. I saw spirit. Yeah, just this should be a category on all your cocktail menus now, not just one. And there's such great products to do this with. Okay, commentary from Andrew.
And they're
Kill
beautifully
the
branded too.
Okay.
Kill the mocktail. Yes, don't mock anybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can skip forward. There we go.
And shaken, stirred, and tableside. Again, this is not something that's particularly new, but we're seeing people approach it in new ways. And again, I think a big part of this is because of, after the pandemic, for a long time, people were their own home bartenders. Now they come out, they want something a little more elevated, a little more engaging. Experiential is one of those themes that you're going to see throughout this report, and that is definitely a factor in this one as well. When you have somebody preparing the drink tableside, that commands your attention and engages you in a way that just ordering a drink from behind the bar doesn't. So we're seeing restaurants approach this in a number of ways, whether it's bubbles that pop and smoke comes out, the aroma of a wood smoke, or dresses that change color at the table because there's an ingredient added in, or even just a fun service style on a tray from Coswell's, which serves the extra large freezer martinis for 4, and it comes to the table all together on ice with the carafe, with the glasses, with the garnish, and people kind of make and pour their own.
Yeah, I think that bubble is super cool. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
And the new bottle service, this is one that is beginning and still very new in inception. Some studies have shown that the glass bottles account for about almost 30% of wine's carbon footprint, and only about a third of glass in the US is actually getting recycled now. And throughout most of the rest of the world, refilling glass bottles is common. It's very common in Europe, even where glass recycling is around 90%. So America's kind of the outlier here, and we're starting to see some businesses looking at ways to change that, but it's still very new in inception. Conscious Container recently launched, and they are working to partner with wineries to collect, wash, and reuse empty wine bottles. And they will be kind of going into partnerships for the next release next year. And Snowden Cousins is another one by celebrity winemaker Diana Snowden Sasis. And she took a slightly different approach with this one, working directly with restaurants where they can control the distribution. So partnering only with restaurants who agree to return any of the empty bottles to the distributor, and they will be collected to be washed and reused.
All right, salted egg yolk, the next pumpkin spice. That's a very contentious thing. You either love pumpkin spice or you hate it, but here's what we think is coming next. So this is another Asian favorite. It's, we think it's partially maybe reflecting the popularity of bubble tea or Vietnamese coffee, but we're seeing the flavor of salted egg yolk coming to drinks. Tarani actually introduced salted egg yolk syrup and declared it their flavor of the year. So we're taking a little bit of cue from them, but this, it's a rich custardy flavor. It's got some umami notes. And so, we saw actually there was a lot of TikTok energy around this. If you look at the hashtag salted egg yolk, 11.5 million views. So we think this flavor has a lot of potential for a lot of reasons. And then this one, there's fruit in my coffee. So, coming off the heels of bubble tea, don't be surprised if you start to find some chunks of fruit in your coffee. We've seen in Asia that, while many Asian cultures have traditionally preferred bubble tea, we're seeing coffee having made inroads, and younger Asian consumers have taken to adding fruit to their coffee to kind of sweeten it. And so we're starting to see this a little bit in the US. Not Latte in San Francisco is claiming to bring the first to bring fruit lattes to the US. But we think kind of given the rising popularity of bubble tea in the US, and kind of this is sort of in some ways an extension of that, or an extension of some of the aspects of it, that we'll be slurping some fruit in our coffee soon. And then some products to watch. Tapachi, it's a slightly fermented sparkling drink. We've also got this really cool highball machine in there. With Tetra Hotel in Sunnyvale has this there, but we're seeing different, they have actually 12 highballs by machine. So they think this one has some potential too. Kind of going off of the canned seltzer movement, we've got the Finnish long drink. This is Finnish gin and grapefruit soda. And so maybe this one will give some of those hard seltzers a run for their money. So keep an eye out for these things. And I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to talk about hotel trends.
Yes,
your favorite.
I'm sure everybody wants a drink, and I just want to mention that we may run a few minutes over. So if you do, you are seeing this trend report for the very first time. So we may run a few minutes over, and if we do, and you have to hop, no problem, because you'll get the full report. But we're going to try to keep going and get everything in that we have to talk to you about. So I'll jump into some hotel trends here. This is really exciting. So, what have the last 2.5 years or so done to, the design of the hotel room or the lobby space? And we have a wonderful design partner called Rose Bernard Studio who chimed in on some of these trends. And I think the new design rules mean that desks don't face the beds anymore, because so many meetings are happening from your hotel rooms, that rooms are being redesigned to create backgrounds for Zoom calls that, where you're not maybe, looking at a bedroom or a bed, there's a sensitivity around, and some of those virtual backgrounds just don't work. So it's better to face a piece of art or behind you, or, something that looks more appealing than a bed. And then lobbies are also becoming really, really flexible, because a lot of work from homers are meeting in your lobbies to have cocktail small meetings. So zones are really cool, looking at how to zone it off, how to do give let's say a group of people a section of your lobby. Basically, it's just really looking at the design to make sure it works for the new world of people that are working from your properties that might have been coming to stay and then going to an office, and now we're just working there. So it's an exciting time for hotels. And then here, from Wi-Fi to hi-fi, I love this one. This is the nostalgia again, coming back in really cool ways of reintroducing vinyl in listening spaces, listening bars. I always say, if you have a space that you don't know what to do with, there's an investment obviously in getting great vinyl and a great sound system, but you can really do listening sessions with great pairings of cocktails and, and you can see Dante's hi-fi here is at the Soho House. It's a very cool lounge, open to members and guests only. And then Harlan Records, right here in San Francisco, is this very cool bar and listening room. So again, offering experiences more than just coming for a cocktail. Shopping the room. Again, we used to be able to buy, now you can be laying in your bed and literally pick out what you want from the room that you would like to have delivered to your home. And this is done, you can work with like the af&co or Love It, Buy It, and they can set up an app for you where, you can they will give you commission on anything they sell or vice versa. It's a little more of a, an insider hotel operator trend. But what we love about it is like everything is conveniently for purchase now. I think RH is a great example of this as well. But Candace and I were at a conference last week, and there was this guy called the Mattress Concierge, my favorite guy at the whole show, because basically he works with all of you to private label your mattresses and then ship them all over the country. So it's pretty cool. And tech or text for hotels, the answer is both. I think, you've always been doing mobile check-in is now a big piece of what you do. But now this idea of being given a private text number that you can chat with somebody directly about, not only your reservations, but where should we eat tonight? Or is there a hair salon in the area? So I think a little of, I think what this one is, interact with the guests the way they want to be interacted with, whether that's via, app or via text. I think you really need to think about introducing this feature if you're not doing it yet. And then hotels trash the trash. It plays off the, this constant need to focus on the earth and the environment. And many of you have introduced recycling. Some of these several hotels are taking it to the next level with recycled glassware. Absolutely no single-use plastics anywhere, no cups. Everything is reusable or it's being recycled. And I think, I won't get into this too much. You could look at these examples here, but the hotel in Tennessee, because Tennessee doesn't have the recycling options, they actually purchased their own glass pulverizer, and the one below actually established its first glass recycling plant. So taking it pretty far, but there's marketing value in all this as well, because people are making decisions about where to stay based on the commitment that these hotels have to the environment. Which leads me beautifully to this, which is the low impact travel websites. And again, there's 3 that we called out here, but so many people are actually looking at, there's greenwashing, right? People are saying they're eco-friendly. These sites really vet what each of these properties are doing, and travel decisions are being made. So if you really feel good about what you're doing, or you feel like you're ahead of the game here, there's opportunities for you to actually feature your properties on these sites. And that is
all right.
To design.
Yeah, so that leads us into some design trends. These trends were put together by our incredible design team at Carbonate. So I will dig right in. All right, so we start with easy on the eye as that loads. There's a couple different examples here, but we went through this stage where I think there was a lot of sensory overload, and what we're seeing coming out of that is this style that some people are calling no fuzz design. It's simple, it's a very inviting graphic style. It's defined by very softened color palettes, these very approachable typefaces, and very clean compositions. And so it gives you this sense of harmony and balance and simplicity, but doesn't lose any of the personality. And so that we can find in other types of approaches. So they're still very commanding. And will stand out in a sea of, what we're seeing is a lot of very bold and vibrant designs that are kind of clawing for attention. So this does still stand out in that, but it's a little bit easier on the eye. And I think we'll see a lot of that as we go through some of these design trends about sort of, acknowledging, as Andrew said, kind of where people are, and that, less shouting, more impact. So this one, I love this one on the end. This is Panettone Pavalucci, which, that's not exactly what you'd expect from, Panettone, the very traditional Italian Christmas cake, right? And so their rebrand actually, leaned into this style sort of as a way to, extend perhaps throughout the year. We can see Cravings there is a baking mix that's sort of leaning into that. And again, just really focusing on that easy on the eye. All right, let this one load. This is Mind, Body, and Spirit. So this is, we've got three hotel examples there, and also a salad company. But, the idea of wellness brands, is not a new one, of course. But what we're now seeing is that brands that really aren't wellness focused, really considering in their design, how do you make someone feel protected, peaceful, or content? As Andrew mentioned, we've got this sea of turmoil over the past couple of years. So really looking at how does your design, how does every detail really impact that guest experience, whether you're a hotel or a restaurant. So considering how color can shift a mood, how does scent trigger a memory. These are good design principles, but really focusing on kind of how that leads us to create these experiences. So, again, beyond those pastels and sort of these dreamy gradients, we're seeing brands exploring a bit more of a holistic approach. So looking at embracing simplicity, looking at being guided sort of by the question of, how can design for well-being be accomplished? So we see these earthy, neutral color palettes, natural materials, and this very minimalist design approach. I really love the one on the end is Be Green Salad Company that's in Valencia. It doesn't necessarily reach you off the gate as if it's a restaurant, but it gives you that sort of peaceful vibe. Piale is in the Catskills in New York, and Amman just opened in New York as well. So I'm very interested to see how these properties are achieving this sense of balance. Which takes us to another spot, Back to the Future again. I think the release of McDonald's Adult Happy Meals really, I think, gave us real true confirmation that nostalgia is a theme of the year. It's not a fluke, it's not fleeting. So we see a little bit of this kind of an ironic popularity with some of these things, but there's just sort of a renewed relationship with nostalgia, where it's not like we're doing what we did in the past and we're just doing it again, but we're doing it in this sort of where the past meets the future. What's interesting, there's a little bit of this, some of this has a little bit of, there's unexpected combinations like these really friendly and bold fonts, these retro color palettes that are kind of paired with this sort of space age starkness. So we see some throwback marketing campaigns that really embrace modern technology, interiors that sort of capture the spirit of those old school. This is actually a vegan deli on the bottom, believe it or not. And it's sort of embracing that, old school deli vibe, but then you've got some really sleek modern upgrades here as well. So you can see this, the Hartzler Dairy there is really leaning into that, and giving you just this sense of, familiarity, but in this new, very modern way. And the last one here is packaging that makes an impression. This is really, I think we saw during the pandemic, a lot of people, shifting their attention to try and think about, what can I sell from my restaurant? It started as sort of, pandemic solution, and then really turned to, okay, well, if I make, a really wonderful sauce, for example, or, a spice rub, how can I actually turn that into a brand, whether that's making it in-house or working with a co-packer. And so now we're really seeing, a renewed focus on looking at, packaged foods and market-ready inspiration, but done very, very intentionally, not just because I have extra, but because I have something special to share. So, we're seeing just even single coolers or full-fledged markets within restaurants, but really, finding a way to allow guests to, take advantage of these really unique culinary items in a very proprietary way. So again, we can see this, generating revenue, but also extending the brand. So this is really an investment in upfront costs. I think anybody that tried to, put labels on something during the pandemic knows that there's a lot of thoughtfulness that's required to go into packaging items, not to mention anything of creating things that are shelf stable. But now we're seeing people taking these really seriously and creating very thoughtful things. And there's some beautiful packaging examples here. Montolupo is in Oregon, and that's an Italian restaurant that has really got a wonderful design. At the top there is Jean Georges private label. Again, just really looking at how do I take the brand and put it in a very flexible system and allow it to extend in all these different ways. So this is something that's really been quite fun to explore. Whoops, and I'm gonna, I guess this is me again too, social media.
I'll chime in, Candace, because we are running a little over. So we will probably wrap at around 12:10. So again, if anybody, needs to run, we apologize for running over. You're seeing it for the first time, but we have about 6 or 7 more trends to cover, and then we'll wrap. And you can also join us next week again. But back to you, Candace.
Yeah, you can come back for more if you like it. Yeah. Or we're always available to talk trends. Okay, I've got a window open there. Okay, so TikTok, I think everybody's sort of wondering, how do I engage in TikTok? And it's really become a very important marketing channel. But it's an interesting way, how can you engage on TikTok meaningfully? I think one of the major challenges that everyone thinks about when they think, oh, it sounds nice to have a TikTok channel, but how would I ever produce enough content to be meaningful on the platform? And that is where our influencer friends can come in handy. We've been seeing a lot of hotels and also restaurants, we'll talk about in a minute, having a presence on the platform, but doing that with influencers and using, having, whether that means just having a hashtag as sort of serving as a landing page for the property. But really travel influencers are really a great way to, especially for millennials and Gen Z who are seeking out authenticity, TikTok really hits that sweet spot of being able to provide that. And influencers can help you do that in a way that doesn't require you to deal with the amount of content that would need to be developed for a hotel to have its own channel. A couple of examples here, Pod Hotel sponsored a social media residency for 6 content creators to show potential travelers what the small scale hotel experience is like, which was very cool. Ladera received nearly 4 million views from one post of a private plunge pool from one content creator. So again, these things can have a lot of impact. For restaurants, this is a really crazy stat. 38% of US TikTok users have visited or ordered food from a restaurant after seeing a video on the app about it. 38% of users. So, we always question, is this driving traffic? And, a lot of these platforms are confirming. And there's been some other stats, from Google confirming that social media is really a place where people are searching for things. 53% of millennials on TikTok in the US have visited or ordered food from a restaurant. So again, we're seeing this drive traffic, and looking at how you can use influencers is really a way to be able to have that presence on the platform without having to figure out how you produce all that content. All right, videos get short. Again, this is another TikTok result, I'll call it. But we're seeing 72% of people prefer video instead of text to learn about a new product or service. I think any of us with kids under the age of 15 understand what is happening as it relates to YouTube and how we learn things. We don't read really the same way we used to. And so that's what we're seeing resulting in marketing. The other thing is length. 66% of video ads are less than 30 seconds. So in some respects, that makes it easier for us. In terms of what you can capture, but 90% is short form videos are projected to make up 90% of all internet traffic in 2022. So let that sink in for a minute. Get your iPhone out and start making some really short reels for your property. And that leads us to the last social media trend, which I think is really, really important. DM meets CRM. So, for a while, when social media first launched, we thought of it as sort of just a marketing tool, right? And it's a way to reach people, brand awareness. But actually, we're seeing social media is way more than that. It's a two-way communication platform. The number of inquiries, on the social media channels that our team manages that come in saying, I left my coat at the bar, or can I book a private party, or I'd like to come in tomorrow with 10 people. Is that possible? Again, there are people during the pandemic, because I think we saw restaurants engaging so much more meaningfully digitally. Our guests have come to expect that of us, and they expect that we are monitoring these digital channels in the same way that maybe the telephone used to be monitored at one point. So, really looking at, why do I bring that up? I mean, social media needs to have budget in order to be monitored. And I think this is a really good example that it's not really only a piece of marketing, but there's also a very real operational component as well. And kind of having that partnership between the social media manager and the operations team is really what important way to capture the leads that are coming through here, for sure, especially for private events, but also just to ensure that really cohesive guest experience. All right, and then sound. We mentioned that sound is coming. Audio consumption continues to rise in a number of different ways. TikTok and Instagram Reels have really been have dominated the video space, and we're seeing that these things are getting paired with original or trending songs. And I think this is really important because sound is an important way these algorithms help content trend. So picking the right music is really important as you look at how you're going to get your content out there and get more people to see it.
All right, we're wrapping with just a couple marketing ideas to inspire you. One of the first ones that we saw that we love is Happy Trails to You and You and You. Happy Trails to You, third song. Okay, and this is inspired by, not only it could be a city, it could be your location, it could be a neighborhood, but just really partnering up and putting together fun, I would say modern day scavenger hunts where you can actually go from location to location to try something. The city of Oakland introduced a vegan trail and it was so popular. They're now doing a cannabis trail, which definitely would be a big fun time to go on and check out all the places, not only that you can have a cannabis infused cocktails or to purchase really cool baked goods or whatever it is. And then Concord has a taco trail, and you can see international food trails. So for hotel operators or for people in very specific neighborhoods, this could be a one-day thing. This could be an ongoing thing. But again, it's just a really creative idea for how to experience something different. And again, going back to the modern day guest right now wants experiential stuff. Which leads us to the next, well, actually, meet me in the metaverse. This is something that I think is not right for everybody, but we're definitely seeing it. These are virtual environments being created, and people can buy in to purchase the art on the walls in the virtual environment, or they're also raising money for their actual brick and mortar locations. I thought Jack in the Box did a really fun job with this one, and Citizen M also did a virtual. They did it. You could buy in as they announced their next brick and mortar location, but they really they created the hotel in the metaverse, and then they could people could actually buy the art from the metaverse, or they could almost get stock in the first location, the announcement of where it was going to be, and then real life benefits. So not right for everybody, but it's definitely fun, and it's definitely something that's on the rise. It's not just dinner, everybody. This is a big one. So we've all come out of this pandemic. We're now we're seeking socialization experiences, and so a lot of restaurants are bringing the music back. They're bringing music in for the first time. They're doing classes again. They're just creating experiences tableside, as Candace mentioned earlier. There's a sense of entertainment and just being wanting more. And again, it doesn't mean it has to cost you more. It's just the way you phrase it. So one market created a piano bar, and so I just think you've got there's a restaurant here that does just really crazy over-the-top late-night dance parties. We have, a Cirque du Soleil meets a restaurant with Berber here in San Francisco. So there's just opportunities for you to all challenge yourselves creatively. And then partnerships. Can't express enough about how you can extend your reach by partnering with other people that might have like audiences or different audiences that you want. So Delta and Starbucks. This is Moulin Rouge came through town here in the Bay Area for 2.5 months, and they partnered with restaurants to do Moulin Rouge cocktails and Moulin Rouge menus. This is a villain at the proper hotel, and everybody really benefited from it. There was ticket giveaways, and so just think about all the partnerships that you could be doing that extend your brand, but also are newsworthy and make it more interesting for people to talk about you. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, we've actually achieved getting through the first take of this trend report. I want to say thank you to all of you. I want to say thank you to Leith and to Candace and to everybody who helped getting this report together. I sort of just want to leave you with a couple things. Obviously, and this is all about the embrace, the big embrace. Embrace technology, embrace plant-based and vegan because they're here to stay. Global influences, every, menus can get really creative. Embrace nostalgia because we heard throughout this report, there's a lot of that, and everything old is new again, and it could be very modern. And embrace value for the money, embrace the discerning guest, and create experiences, and embrace yourselves for making it through this trend report, but also making it through probably the most challenging years that we've ever had in the industry. So on that note, I think we can stay on if you have any questions, but you can also just hit our Instagrams up or email us, and we can answer any questions that you have. And for all of you who stayed with us, we really appreciate it. And Candace and Leith, any final parting words?
No, you covered it. Let's go have a
Okay.
hug.